afternoon, blessings everyone. I am Elegance Champagne, founder of Abstract Thoughts of a Transition Mind, VP with Minds Up, none other than Takia Diamond, and just had a moment out of the day that I decided to take with you guys to share with you something that I was kind of thinking about today. Something I believe we can all take a part of and actually relate to. And it's dealing with success. I've come to understand that when it comes to having success, it kind of works like dating or establishing a relationship. Whether it be an intimate relationship, family relationship, whatever you want to name it, it all begins with establishing a relationship. Now, when it comes to establishing a relationship or building that connection with a person, what is the first thing that most people do? Usually the first thing that a person does is they'll ask, or they may say, hello, my name is such and such. So, for instance, my name is Elegance Champagne. Boom. Usually when you introduce yourself and you give a name, you're expecting something in return from that other person if they have interest. So usually they will respond with their name. Now when they respond with their name, that usually means now you guys have something in common that you just established. You made a first establishment, the first connection, which is identifying their name. When you end up identifying their name, it kind of works as a computer where you usually start a new file. So just envision you on your computer and you just opened up a new file. It's a new chapter in your life, so to speak, with potential. So that file is labeled whatever name that you gave and whatever name that person gave. And now your mind is literally acting as a computer. Well, it's actually the other way around because the computer is an imitation of how our minds work. But just so you can see, it opens up a new file. And usually the next leading question is, so where are you from? Boom. Usually a person may tell where they may have been born at, or where they currently reside at, or anything in that nature. So be mindful when you actually are and you're doing your introduction that if where you're telling them where you're from, if it's gonna help them create interest, or if it may kind of push them away to where they may not even want to proceed any further than that. For instance, a person says, well, I'm from Hawaii. Boom. First thing that comes to a person's mind usually when they hear that a person is from Hawaii, they think of vacation. They think of a beach. They think of like the ocean, vibrant colors, fresh fruits, and just aquatic animals, volcanoes, tiki bars, the little grass skirts, and the lanyards that they put around their neck, the laces. And when a person hears that name, automatically their mind starts to try to find a file that fits the description of Hawaii. So most people, they may be very proud to say that, wow, I'm from Hawaii. Now, on the other side, the person that hears this, they kind of prepare a response in advance after they hear that the person is from Hawaii. The person can be from New Jersey, New York. They may say that they may technically be from urban or hood area or hood community or a project area. And a person looking and establishing a connection with that person may not feel that comfortable or even confident to tell them that, yeah, I'm from New Jersey, I'm from the projects, I'm from a hood area, I'm from wherever that location is that may not be the greatest. But the thing is, think outside the box. Who says you have to say where you were actually born at, where you were born and raised at? You don't necessarily have to say where you were born and raised. You can say, well, I'm from Harvard University, I'm from Seton Hall University, I'm from Rutgers University. Something that you know will help continue that connection that is taking place. Something that will help draw that person in to help them want to have more interest in who you are and what you're about. So the first two things that we have is you introduce your name and you introduce where you're from or when you're currently at, or In other words, to kind of look at it from this perspective, most people, if they're not from the greatest area, they may start from where they first established their first greatest achievement. And usually most people go to their education, such as a school that they may have graduated from, or a college that they're currently attending, or a college that they have already graduated from, where they have diplomas, bachelor's, master's, and so forth. They understand that this is an opportunity to grasp something new. This is an opportunity to actually create something that I have not experienced, to create a new journey, a new chapter in my life, and they don't want to ruin it, so they prep themselves for a proper response. Well, that's the same way it works with success, just for these first two steps. When success comes knocking, you introduce yourself as far as your name and what you're currently doing or where you're from. And success will have a list of responses as well, whether success has any interest in serving you, or if you kind of blew your chance because you're still stuck on living in the past and not broadening your mind and broadening and thinking outside the box and telling them where you're from and not using wisdom to be like, wait, this is a grand opportunity for me to actually achieve something great, to establish a brand new relationship. And if I do tell them that I'm from the projects, I may actually lose this connection. So just use wisdom when it comes to that, because that's how success works. Success will be drawn to you based upon the things that you have in common. Therefore, you're creating and building rapport. So if one says, I'm from Hawaii, and that person says, I'm from Hawaii as well. Wow, what part of Hawaii? And then you can start going. Now you're building rapport, because now you're finding something that you have in common, and you start searching for things that is great about that rather than the things that is bad about that particular area. So when you start looking for things that is great about the area, look at the things that is great about the areas of your life. So when you're looking at the things that's great in the areas of life and you're presenting that to a person that you're introducing, then you can proceed to step 3. And step 3, from you going from introducing your name, introducing where you're from or what you're about, the next thing usually is, so what do you do? Now it's like, what is it that you're doing? Most people's natural response is, oh, well, I work for a warehouse, or I work for an office, or I work for gardening, or I work for as a cashier, or whatever it is. But again, look at it from a different perspective. Many people may have heard this, but nobody's asked you, what do you do to just serve just yourself, to make money for yourself, just so you could be satisfied with your everyday needs? What are you doing to serve the people around you? What are you doing to serve the environment around you? What are you doing to actually serve the world? What are you doing to create change, to bring more positive things, to create more opportunities for others, including yourself? Because eventually it'll all come back around and it'll make its way back to you, to where you'll benefit from those particular things. So when you're actually about to give that response, be mindful, think outside the box. Think of something great. Think of an achievement, something that you're striving to establish. So rather than saying, I'm a cashier, what is that you really desire? What is your passion? What are you doing right now? It can be, oh, well, I'm a coach, or I'm a leadership development coach, or I'm a personal development author, or I'm a marketing expert, and you keep going on. These are things that not really just serves just you by yourself, but they serve others and impacts the lives of others around you. And when you're speaking to success or the other person, they're like, wow, this person really has something going for themselves. Like, wow, this is amazing. They're not just thinking about just things about themselves. They're really thinking outside the box. Therefore, they show potential to establish and build something even greater than the current state where they're at. So this, going back to the computer file, you opened up a file, you gave it a label, gave it a title, you gave it a location for it to be stored at, because as I mentioned, the location, it determines whether it wants to be stored in a negative place, such as a negative mindset or negative credibility, or something that is positive, such as achievements. So you can label it and store it in an achievement file or not so great credibility file. And then you start listing details. You start filling that file folder up with potential projects that can be worked on. But there is more to it than that. When you're actually doing that and you take the next step, be mindful not to kind of go too deep into everything just all about you, because usually majority of the time it could be a guy or a female. Nobody really wants to continuously hear just all about you. You want to have manners when it comes to success. You want to respect the things that success or that other person has to offer, or their achievements. You want to show interest, so that way you can be like, wow, you can acknowledge their achievement, because at the end of the day, others, they do desire to be acknowledged for the things that they do or where they're at, or the things that they're desiring or striving to do. Same thing with you. Nobody wants to just hear a person saying, well, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I've done this and I've done. It's like, wow, okay, well, what about me? What about me? Sometimes we get so stuck in just our own selves, and we end up ruining an opportunity that success is bringing to us, and we don't even get to the next couple of phases or steps, let alone getting to the first date. Because usually this is what happens, and usually like a first date for most people. You establish a connection, you start building rapport, you start creating interest. And when you create interest, it starts creating values of yourself and the other person. They start to value the things about you. You start to value the things about them. And then you start building and you start envisioning, wow, you know what? I'm actually compatible with this person. You do music? Wow, you create instrumentals? Wow, well actually I'm a songwriter. I write lyrics. So you put two and two together and you're like, wow, we could put something together to establish something great. Well, you know what this links up to? Excuse me for the sirens in the background. This leads to that saying where people say, when opportunity meets preparation, you get what? Success. It's true. One person may be the opportunity, the other person may be the preparation. Usually it's the guy that should really be the one that is prepared, that has prepped himself for this opportunity to establish a beautiful or potentially beautiful relationship. And then eventually it can lead into something greater. But let's get past the first date though. So the other part when it comes to establishing the first date is, most of the time the guy is the one that picks the place, right? Sometimes it can go the other way, but one person chooses the destination for them to actually have their first date, for them to go through the introduction, find out the things about them, see if they're compatible, see if they have any interest or values within each other, to see if they could potentially build something. And that's what you have to understand, is you understand the balance and the first step when it comes to understanding building and establishing your first date with success. Because if you do good on the first date, you know what happens? You just created another opportunity, which is date number 2. Some people try to move too fast where they just throw everything all in one in that first date, and it's like so overwhelming to the person. And when you do that, you ruin potential opportunities. So when you're presenting yourself to opportunity, to success, to the universe, whatever you want to call it, you don't want to just clobber with all these things, even though they're great and magnificent things that you've done. You don't want to suffocate it and drown it in all these different things to where there's no room to breathe. There's no room for moderation. Like, you have to do this in moderation. And then you can proceed to date number 2. Now, date number 2 usually is where you ask the other person, where is it that they would like to go? So now you're showing consideration. You're showing that it's not just about me, but where would you like to go? What would you like to do? And when a person hears that and they're giving the opportunity, again, the opportunity is presented, they may already be prepared as far as, I would actually like to go here. Sometimes people do the first date where it's really high class upscale, but sometimes the second date may be more high class and upscale. You kind of keep ranking up and up and up. You kind of level up. And when you do this is when you start digging and diving deeper and revealing more of who you are. And if it goes well, once again, that rapport is built, that establishment is being established to proceed to another phase. When you do that, the opportunity, when it comes, you're like, wow, this is so bliss. You're on like date number 5, and now you're picking the person up from work. You're asking if there's anything you can do to kind of help them out. If there's anything that they need, they can call you, they can contact you. Doesn't matter what time, what place, what they're doing, they'll drop it and they'll get to them as soon as possible. Well, that's how it works with success. When you're polite and you do things in moderation with success, and you let success know, listen, if there's something that you need from me or require from me, let me know and I will make it my business to make it happen. So therefore, you're opening yourself up to not just be serving just yourself or trying to get something out of it. You're trying to serve something greater than yourself. When you start serving something and you have the mentality of serving something that is greater than yourself, that's where you can say the magic starts to happen. That's where the flow really starts to flow. You can just relax. You're like, it's established. All I have to do is continue to be myself and continue to improve myself and continue to help this person improve. And when you start to improve yourself and help that other person improve, now it's not necessarily competition, but you're kind of pulling each other up. And you're kind of releasing new ideas to the person to help them grow because you want to grow as well. And that's where you start to become one with that person. You literally become that person. That could be a negative or positive. But in this case, since we're dating, we're going to keep it in the positive. So you begin to be more like them and they become to be more like you, to where now you guys have somewhat of the same vision. But even though you have the same vision, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have the same methods to achieve or establish that vision. You may have different tools than the other person, and they may have tools that is necessary for you to work, where it works collectively to help establish the foundation that you need. And once you have that foundation established, then you can start building things on top of that foundation. And that's really what it's about. Because eventually, after you get past the dating, it's not necessarily saying that you're no longer dating, but when you really, like, you want to just take it to the next level, you want to take it to the next phase, after maybe like a couple of months to about a year or a couple of years, now you may be like, you know what? I really want to live the rest of my life with this particular person. I really want something much more. And that's when you begin to engage. Now, when you enter engagement, guys, ladies, whichever way you do it, I mean, today, it's been weird things that I've seen, women proposing to guys, guys proposing, but at the end of the day, there's an engagement that takes place. And usually, when the engagement takes place, we're going to use the guy, for example. He wants to get a ring, right? To propose to her. He wants to pick a perfect setting and a perfect time when he feels it, compelled to do it. And he makes it his business to go to a jeweler, to a jewelry store, and he finds a jewel that has value. It's not necessarily saying that it's always equivalent, because you can't necessarily put value on it, but he puts something that symbolizes value of that person. And usually they tell the guy, if he's going to get like an engagement ring, that it's a certain amount of a salary that he puts towards that engagement ring leading up to the wedding ring, right? So that means he starts to invest in himself, to invest into something of value to present that symbolizes, listen, I really do care for you. I really do acknowledge you. I really do love you. And I'm willing to actually invest something greater than just a regular paycheck. I'm willing to invest something greater than just taking you out on a date. I'm willing to invest in something that is just temporary. I'm willing to invest in something that will still be here even after our physical bodies is no longer present, which is usually a jewel. Most people prefer diamonds, right? I thank God I do have my diamond and I claim it. And she can laugh all she wants. But when you establish something and you go and you look for that diamond jewel to have, to present to that person, you have in the back of your mind, I'm going to establish something great. So take me to the next dimension. What happens when you meet with success and you get to that point? You start to establish and invest more greater values in that relationship between the two of you. Whether that be you opening up another business to create more streams of income, whether that you creating a new product so you can actually be able to generate more income to be able to provide, to really establish more and more of a foundation to create, just move out of that 1-bedroom apartment to 2-bedroom, so you can have your own little room, and then you can have a potential office, and then you move on to a 3-bedroom, and then so forth, until you eventually you even have a house. Some people don't have to go in that order. Some people actually are blessed to actually establish, and they end up just getting an actual house. They purchase their house. They're like, it's done. Now we can do whatever we want, because now you have more room for growth. That house symbolizes more room for growth. Or that luxury apartment symbolizes values that you've invested in, the both of you, so you can both live lavishly, abundantly, and living in that energy of wealth. When you get to that stage to where you're like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna ask this person to marry me. You're saying that's a success. And if your qualities, your traits, your behaviors, which is very important, yes, even myself, I'm working on that, to become a better man, or in other words, become a better woman, to become a better person for you, and therefore becoming a better person for that other person.